The communication is one of the main things that we're going to talk about, that and forgiveness. I was so lacking in communication. I was very immature. We didn't get married till I was 22. She was a year younger. Everybody else in our group had been married by then. Some had already had children. And we were late in getting married. But I was still a kid in my heart, and I was still immature, and I was still afraid of marriage, and yet we went ahead.
I asked him to marry me. That's how scared he was.
Isn't that awful?
I told him at Christmas that year, either I got an engagement ring or we were going to have to call it off, because in his eyes, he could date forever. He did not want to commit. So at Christmas, what did I get? A bowling ball. But it had a ring with it.
It's pretty.
So he scared me.
I was afraid I wasn't going to be the husband I should be. And I just found out recently from her this week, of all these years we've been married, that she thought she was second choice. And this broke me. She was my first choice. It took me years to realize that, but she was my first choice. But I never told her that. Tell me now.
Communication.
I can still remember the day I met her. I was 16, she was 15. I'm sitting on a swing set in the backyard in the South End. Now, it's not a swing set like you might have in your yard. This is an old rusty metal, just barely held together swing set, rusty, squeaky, just a piece of wood for you to sit on. And a friend brought Joy, and my heart jumped, and I was just taken. She had a dark skirt, a white sleeveless blouse, and long hair. I don't remember a lot of things. I do remember that. And I was just completely taken, but I didn't know how to express what I felt. Communication to a guy can be different than communication to a woman. So I'm going to read a funny little thing here. And it speaks to, she's crying, so we're going to do this to kind of break it up. So a judge was interviewing a man regarding a pending divorce. And he asked, he said, "What are the grounds for your divorce?" And he says, "Well, about 4 acres and a nice little home in the middle of the property with a stream running by it." "No, I know," he said. They said, "What's the foundation of this case?" "Well, it's concrete, mortar, some block work." No, what are your relations like?" "Well, I have an aunt and an uncle living in town, and so do my wife's parents." No. He said, "Do you have a real grudge?" "No, we just got a carport." "Okay, is there any infidelity in your marriage?" Yeah. He says, "My son and daughter both have stereo sets. We don't like the music they listen to." And then he says, "This is a delicate situation, but does she ever beat you up?" And he said, "Well, it's usually just Saturday and Sunday because I like to sleep in on Saturday and Sunday." And he says, finally in desperation, he said, why are you getting divorced?" He says, "I don't want a divorce. I've never wanted a divorce. She does because we said we don't communicate." But that's kind of what, she always says, "I will talk to a tree." I do like to visit.
All of you know that, right?
I do like to visit and talk and communicate, but I really lacked in communicating with her, and I'm still nowhere near what I should be. I didn't give her my time. I didn't give her my love. I was such a selfish young married person. Decided to buy a car, brand new car. Here I am making $1.60 an hour, living in an apartment above a house that with the walls angled with the roof, so when you sat in the tub, you had to kind of creep your head to the side, had 65-year-old furniture in it, and I go out and buy a new car. And that car was a fast car. 64 Plymouth with a 383, 3 on the column. And it just came from the factory fast. So I like to race. So I'd leave her at home and I'd go out at night and drag race. And I'd drag race up Main Street, down Main Street, Western Avenue. The expressway only went from Peoria to Morton at that time, so it was a good spot to do it because there's hardly any traffic. You could just go out there and stop in the middle of that road and race whoever you wanted to race, and clear to Morton, come back. And it got so bad that when she was driving it, people would stand up, go up alongside her and look at her. They're wanting to race because they recognized the car. Then I started just going to drag races. Well, the only drag racing area there was in Springfield, which meant we had to get up in the middle of church service on Sunday with her mom looking daggers through us, get up and walk out in order to make the drag race on time. I did all this stuff. I'm not good with money. I'm really not. My mother was so good with money. Dad always said, you give her $10 on Monday, she'll have 11 on Friday. And I was just the opposite. If you give me $10 on money, I might have a quarter left on Tuesday. But I just wasn't good at that. I'm still not good at that. When I married her, I wanted to provide for her and make her feel safe, and I did everything but that. I tried my best providing. I worked 2 jobs so that she could stay home with the children. But
That was my choice. He asked me if he took another job, would I like to stay home? And I said yes.
yeah, and it's our decision, and we loved it because she was always home with the kids. If we decided to do something, we didn't have to worry about 2 of us getting time off. So it worked with us. But along with that, look at the time I was away. Brennan's on the fire department now, so he knows that he's gone 24 hours at a time. Well, when I went on the fire department, I lived in Creve Coeur. Go to Peoria Fire Department work. I'd get off at 6:30 or 6:45 in the morning. I had a painting job I had to go to by 8, so I couldn't come home. So I'd go have breakfast somewhere. Then I'd work all day. I'd get home at 5 or 5:30 the next night. If I worked a double shift, that meant I was gone 2.5 days, and I was home just in the evening and right back at the firehouse. So all that time providing was gone, but then the selfish part of me entered into it in doing things I like to do. I thought, I worked 2 jobs, I deserve this, so I'd fish. Or when I started golfing, Lord, it took so much time. I thought I said I deserve that, so I'd do it. And that 4 or 5 hours was 4 or 5 hours I didn't just get to spend with her. Time's one of those things, you can pay back a lot of things, you can't pay back time. Once it's gone, it's gone.
He asked me one time what I wanted for my birthday, and I said, spend the day with me. He was just shocked that I would even want that. So I failed in my area, too.
No. She gave me hints all the time. One afternoon, I remember we just jumped in the van. We went out to Tanner's Orchard in the afternoon and walked around and had a sandwich out there and came back. And we got back. She thanked me for spending time with her. Did it wake me up for a little bit, but I go right back to doing the same things I like to do. Sorry. Guys, if you're young and you're getting married, it is such a drastic change. But we had, other than our parents, we didn't have schools to go to or classes. You're so blessed to have Doug and Vicki and what they do in this church to help facilitate a healthy marriage. And we just had to wing it and made so many mistakes. So what I'm speaking about, I just want to maybe keep somebody from making that same mistake, or at least think about it, because this is our life together. She was just talking on the way over here. How long have you been retired now? From the fire department, it'll be 23 years in April. She says, I really think that's been the best part of our marriage. And she was afraid it wasn't going to be, because we're going to go from not spending a lot of time together to spending a lot of time together.
A lot. But I must say, it's been enjoyable.
Yeah, as we sit around and do nothing other than maybe watch a show TV show or a thing that we like to watch, or she's doing a puzzle and I'm putzing around on a computer or something, we're side by side and don't even have to say a lot, but just being together. And I can honestly say there's nobody I'd rather be with right now than her. And sad to say that wasn't always the case. I just love to go out and do different things that I like to do. I satisfied that competitive part of me and everything and doing it. It was so wrong.
I saw this quote yesterday, and I thought, this is so fitting. Don't look back with regret. Look forward with hope.
It is. No. I want to get to forgiveness because I know that forgiveness has to be a vital part of any marriage, any union, because it isn't if are you're going to have to forgive, it's when are you going to have to forgive. None of us are perfect. We all hurt each other, sometimes intentionally, most times not. And we can hang on to that anger and hurt if we want to, but then it just hurts both of you. In our marriage, there's been something that about drove us apart. When I looked at her and I thought I can either forgive her and live with her, which I wanted to do, or not, and lose all this. And I couldn't do it. I'm not spouting I know there's many scriptures on forgiving, but we were watching a show one night and it was about revenge, and they just brought up this thing that what Confucius said about revenge. If you take revenge, dig 2 graves, because it's going to kill both of you. So in a marriage like you are in, or we are in, or you're anticipating being in, there's going to come those times when one of you has to forgive the other and move on. And it doesn't mean you forget it. It just means you've forgiven, because it's a choice that you make to forgive. It's mandated by the Lord that we be a forgiver, because he's forgiven us of everything that we've ever done and protected us. And we need to do that with our loved ones, because that's the only way you're going to survive. If you go through your life, married life, carrying grudges, it's not going to end well. So we just hope that our lives together, coming up on 60 years, if I'd have done what I should have done, it should be 62 or 63 years. Because I knew that she was for me. I knew that she was the one I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And I was just foolish. But I want to tell you, I love you more today than I did then. When I see her around our grandkids and great-grandkids, I just sit back and marvel at the relationship she has with them. And she really thinks she can't do anything. That's her opinion. She's even with this, so I can't do that. Anything that I've seen her being assigned to do, she was the head of the women's ministry at one time. She was in plays here. She played the piano. She sang with me. Anything that she did well. And she has the greatest sense of humor. I was just talking to Vicki about the day about being able to laugh at yourself. And she can laugh at herself. She does something around our grandkids when we go out to eat, or they go out to eat. They just die laughing almost every time.
My son always called me Lucille Ball because I acted like her.
But she laughs along with them. And even our great-grandkids, we would take care of 2 great-grandsons many times, usually 2 days a week in the summer. And she gets down on the floor and plays with them. And they ask Papa to do certain things, but some things they want Meemaw to do. And that's to go upstairs and get all the cars out, that they have hundreds of cars, and get them on the floor and play with them and do things and play the keyboard. And I can hear her up there just laughing and talking. And I'm just marveled by it. They just love her to pieces. So us staying together has facilitated having the two children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. And we have a life that is so blessed, continues to be blessed, in spite of everything that we've done. But God has been in our lives all of our married life. Even though we failed him and failed each other, he's been the center part of our lives. And I believe that's the only thing that's kept us together all these years, is we keep coming back. So I don't know if this has done anything to help any of you.
Just hang in there.
Yeah. I want you to know my watch thinks I stopped sleeping, because this is all I've been thinking about for the last 3 or 4 nights. And I look at my phone in the morning, how'd you sleep? And not very good. A lot of wake time. I'm thankful that all of you did take the time to do this and come. There was nothing like this available when we were first married. There was no...
You need to take advantage of what you have here. This is really a blessing.
It is. We could, at our age and at our married life, we can still need help. We need to get better. We need to know how to help each other better. And you do too. And it's God-centered, and it's God's desire that you stay together. It's God's desire that you love one another. It's God's desire that you show to the world, yes, we can be married, and we can weather the storms, and we can come through it better than when we started. And that's where I think we're at right now as a couple. We're happier with each other, at least I am.
I am.
Happier with each other than we've ever been. And
Glenn has been a big provider for our family. I knew I'd do this. And we loved him. And he was busy, but he was providing. Not all bad. Okay. I felt like it was all about me, and it's not. It's him.
yeah. I don't know what else to say. I just hope that if you have things going on in your marriage, that what was spoken last night, what's going to be spoken after us, the literature that's available, the help that's available. Guys, it's worth sticking through. It's worth working on it. It's worth managing the problems so that you can come out together at the other end. And we're just praying that that's what happens because of this, because of what's going on in the church, and as you get closer to God and closer to one another, it's just going to be good things happening. You're going to have troubles, you're going to have some bumps in the road, but you'll weather it, and you'll come through better and stronger because of that. So thank you.